Here is section 1, 500 words, of the story titled, Her Boyfriend Struggled to Fit, but I Managed to Go All the Way. Faceless narration friendly, emotional drama tone. Yellow square section 1. The first glance, introduction and background, 500 words. I never meant for things to happen the way they did. At first I was just a friend, someone who listened, someone who noticed the little things no one else did. Her name was Maya, and she had a boyfriend. Reese was one of those guys who turned heads when he walked into a room. Tall, confident, athletic. On the surface he seemed like the perfect catch. Maya looked happy, at least in the beginning. But as time passed, the cracks started to show. Quiet ones at first, barely noticeable to anyone who wasn't paying attention. But I noticed. We were all part of the same social group in college. Late-night hangouts, group projects, weekend parties. We shared more moments than most people realized. But my bond with Maya was different. It wasn't loud or obvious. It was subtle. She'd laugh at my jokes even when no one else did. She'd share things with me. Deep, personal thoughts, things she never said in front of Reese. I remember the first time I realized something was wrong. We were all sitting around in the library. Reese showed up late, barely glanced at Maya, then sat down with his headphones on. Maya's smile faded. Not because he was late, but because she had gotten used to that kind of attention, or lack of it. She stared at her notebook, twirling her pen, pretending not to care. But I saw it, that look in her eyes. A few weeks later, Maya and I were assigned to the same presentation. That gave us more time to work together, and more time to talk. That's when I started seeing more signs. She mentioned how Reese was distant lately. How their conversations felt forced, how the chemistry felt off. I didn't press for details. I just listened. Then one night she said something that stuck with me. Sometimes it's like we're not even close, she whispered, eyes fixed on the floor. Like, we try but it just doesn't feel right. Not emotionally. Not even physically. There was silence. I didn't know what to say, so I just stayed there with her. I didn't want to intrude. I just wanted to be there. From that night on, things changed. Maya and I weren't just friends working on a project anymore. There were longer glances, softer smiles, moments when our hands would brush and neither of us would pull away. She never said anything out loud. But some feelings don't need words. And I knew even then something was shifting between us. Something neither of us were ready to admit. Not yet. Here is section 2, 500 words, of the story. Her boyfriend struggled to fit, but I managed to go all the way. Faceless narration friendly, emotional drama tone. Yellow square section 2. Between the lines. Growing tension, 500 words. We never spoke about what was happening between us. It was all in the silences, the pauses between conversations, the way her eyes lingered on mine a little too long, the nervous smiles we exchanged when our hands touched. It was subtle but undeniable. One rainy afternoon, Maya asked if I could help her move some things from her apartment. Reese had dropped by earlier but left in a rush after a short argument. She looked drained. Not angry, just tired in a way that felt deeper than lack of sleep. As I helped her box up old books and fold clothes, we ended up sitting on the floor of her bedroom, surrounded by half-packed bags and half-finished thoughts. That's when she opened up in a way I hadn't expected. I don't know what's wrong with me, she said quietly. He's supposed to be everything I wanted. But it feels like I'm always pretending. I stayed quiet, letting her speak. We don't connect. Not in conversation, not in bed. It's like there's a wall between us. He tries, but it always ends up feeling forced. Like we're not built for each other. She looked at me then. Not just looked, really looked. And for a moment I forgot how to breathe. I feel closer to you in 5 minutes than I do with him in 5 hours, she whispered. I didn't know what to say. I was frozen between doing the right thing and acknowledging what my heart had been screaming for weeks. That night she invited me to stay for a movie. Nothing dramatic. Just a quiet evening, or so we told ourselves. We sat close on the couch. Too close. Her shoulder brushed mine, and neither of us moved. Halfway through the film, she rested her head on my shoulder. "I feel safe with you," she murmured. Those words cracked something open inside me. We didn't kiss. We didn't even hold hands. But the silence between us was filled with more emotion than words could ever hold. She fell asleep leaning against me, her hand lightly resting over mine. I didn't move. Couldn't. That moment, that simple silent moment, was the most intimate thing I'd ever experienced. There was no need for confessions, no declarations of love. But something had shifted, something real, something unspoken. When I left later that night, I turned back to look at her door. I knew everything had changed. We hadn't crossed any physical line. But emotionally, we were already too far gone. Here is section 3 of the story. Her boyfriend struggled to fit, but I managed to go all the way. Faceless narration friendly, emotional drama tone. Yellow square section 3. The turning point, crossing the line. 2 weeks passed after that night. We went back to being normal, at least on the surface. No one else noticed, but something between us had changed. Our conversations were deeper. Our smiles were slower. We didn't talk about that night on the couch, but we both remembered every second of it. Then one evening Maya called me. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I broke up with Reese," she said. "It was overdue." I didn't say much at first. I just listened like always. She wasn't crying. She sounded relieved, like a weight had finally been lifted. That weekend she invited me over for dinner. Nothing fancy, pasta, garlic bread, a bottle of wine. But everything about the evening felt different. The lights were low. Soft music played from a speaker in the corner. And when she opened the door, wearing one of those cozy oversized sweaters that made her look even smaller and softer than usual, I could feel my heartbeat echo in my ears. We laughed, we ate, we talked about everything. Our childhood's favorite songs, secret dreams. She told me how empty she had felt in her relationship with Reese. Not just emotionally but physically. "He tried so hard to impress me," she said softly. "But it always felt wrong. Like his way of being close wasn't my way. And I'd end up feeling more alone after." We sat in silence for a moment. Then I said it. "You never have to pretend with me." She looked at me. Not with hesitation, but with certainty. The kiss happened slowly. No sudden moves. No urgency. Just two people leaning closer until there was no space left between them. Her hands moved to my neck. Mine to her waist. And the moment our lips touched, everything that had built up over weeks finally found its release. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't clumsy. Just fit. There was no performance. No pressure. No mask. Just quiet, breathless closeness. We moved from the kitchen to the couch, then to her room, all without saying a word. Every touch, every look said more than words ever could. And in that moment, in the stillness of her bedroom, wrapped in warmth and silence, she whispered something I'll never forget. This feels like home." She held on to me like she never wanted to let go. And I held her like I finally found the place I belonged. We didn't need to compare it to what she had before. Because this wasn't about being better. This was about being right. That night we didn't just cross a line. We erased it completely. Green square section 4. The aftermath, love or regret. The morning after was quiet. The kind of quiet that wasn't awkward, but full of thoughts, feelings, and questions neither of us had dared to ask the night before. Sunlight slipped in through the curtains, soft and golden. Maya stirred beside me, then opened her eyes slowly. She smiled. A small, tired smile, but real. "Hey," she whispered. I could have said 1,000 things. But hey was enough. For a while we just lay there. No rush, no words. Her head on my chest, fingers drawing invisible shapes on my arm. Felt surreal, peaceful. But beneath the comfort was a quiet tension, the unspoken "what now?" hanging in the air between us. Eventually, she sat up and wrapped the blanket around her shoulders. "I don't regret last night," she said, her voice steady. "But I don't know what comes next." I don't either, I admitted. But I know it was real. She nodded. More real than anything I've felt in a long time. The days that followed were a blur of uncertainty and change. We didn't rush into anything. We gave each other space. But every time we saw each other it was different now. No pretending. No just friends mask to wear. Something had shifted permanently. People around us started to notice. Reese too. He texted her a few times but she never responded. She told me she owed him honesty, but not her silence. Weeks passed. We spent more time together. Not in the heat of passion but in everyday moments. Grocery shopping. Long walks. Cooking dinner. Sharing playlists. Holding hands at stoplights. It wasn't a rebound. It wasn't about replacing someone. It was about building something new, something honest. One evening, while watching the sky turn pink from her balcony, she turned to me. I used to think love was about effort, trying harder, pushing past what didn't feel right. But with you, it's not about trying. It just fits. I looked at her, really looked. This wasn't the same Maya I'd met months ago. This was someone lighter, someone free. And maybe, just maybe, I was changing too. I realized then. Sometimes the right person isn't the one who looks perfect from a distance. It's the one who knows how to hold your silence. The one who sees you, all of you, and still chooses to stay. What started as stolen glances and silent confessions had become something deeper. Something lasting. And in the quiet space between her old life and the new one we were building together, she finally found what she'd been missing all along. Not someone who pushed harder, but someone who fit without forcing.